Hello everyone, welcome to LFC Transfer Room Stream, our first match reaction of the new Premier League season. Chelsea won, Liverpool won, and before we get into a lowdown, a breakdown, another breakdown I've already broke down many times in that game alone, I want to say one thing, and I want to call bullshit out for what bullshit is, and that's Jamie Carragher. Years and years, this shit has been going on where we're not bringing enough players in. We're left short every single season, Jamie. On that commentary, you was right, by the way, Jamie, on this commentary, saying that bringing two players is not enough. Where the fuck was this for the last 2-3 years? Have you not just noticed it now? You've had countless times to call this out, Jamie Carragher. Countless times. And I'm up to here with it. Because you're protecting what is going on at this club. Jurgen Klopp is, for milk, he's put a number 10 in a number 6. He's then put a number 9 into number 10. He's then put a striker into midfield. He's then put an attacking midfielder into defensive midfield. Why? Because we're playing late again. We're waiting till late again. You've had countless times on the debate, on the overlap debates, to call this ownership out. You've had countless times on the commentary to call this ownership out, and haven't done nothing. The only time we've actually moved this transfer window for defensive midfielder is when we got money in for Fabinho and Henderson. We shouldn't have to rely on that. We shouldn't have to rely on Chelsea going to go get someone else. Stephen, give me your first initial thoughts of that match, mate.
That's first of all, I know you were getting a bit of an impassioned speech there. I didn't want to interrupt you. Your mic's gone a little bit fuzzy. I don't know, maybe it might be a bit of connection. That's grand now. Just the shouting into it, I guess, might have done it, which warranted. Look, that was a poor performance. We were lucky to get away with a draw there. We could have ended that game 3 or 4-1 down, genuinely. I thought that should have been a penalty in regards to the handball. The hand was in an unnatural position, but it wasn't called as well at the same time. But you can't rely on a referee, especially Anthony Taylor, to bail you out of a game when there was multiple times and multiple chances for us to score and go ahead. Salah, his second half was very quiet. His first half was good, but he kind of disappeared in the second half. Nunez came on and towards the end of the game in the last 10 minutes was causing problems. It was good to see. That's the kind we needed there. I don't think Jota should have started that game. I think we should have had Nunez in that game from the get-go, because you've seen what he started doing immediately when he was there. Gakpo should have either started in place of Jota, and there should have been Curtis Jones in midfield. There was some questionable decisions in relation to the lineup. It was a very disappointing performance. It was, if you wanted to compare it to a boxing match, we were throwing jabs in the first half, and then all of a sudden we got hit with a haymaker in relation to their goal, and we were stumbling for the rest of the game. We kind of refound ourselves in the last 15 minutes, but by that point we were already some players looked gassed. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Trent lost the ball once or twice and didn't track back, which is something I have a very big pet peeve about with players. If you're going to press up that high and you want to get that up high up the pitch and you're a defender, which he is as a right back, you get back. You lose the ball, you recover it. Don't just stand there and watch them sprint and watch Jackson sprint down the field and take on Konate and nearly score. And only for Alisson. Alisson was the man of the match for me in relation to the saves he made. There was a couple of one-on-ones there that only for him. If we had any other keeper in goal there, they would have gone in. But because of Alisson is the reason that we drew that game today. And because of the likes of the forwards that weren't clicking, I guess, just the final third wasn't there. There was a multitude of errors, and it really showed where holes are in the team. Now, maybe it could have been just that we're still, it's the first game of the season, and I don't want to overreact as well at the same time, but we could have very easily lost that game 2-3 or 4-1. It was an abysmal showing from a team that we expect more from, even from an effort standpoint.
You made an absolute great point there regarding it showed where the holes were. And John Henry was in the crowd to watch this. I don't think he knows an absolute shit about football anyway. I wish he knows a little bit just to see what the fuck is going on that pitch, because it was clear as day what was going on that pitch and where we needed improvements. Like I said,
I don't think a CDM does it. I genuinely in that I don't think a
It's not
CDM
enough.
does
It's
it.
not enough. It's not enough at all. We're going to get into that throughout the stream. What we think is enough now, because people are saying in our chat alone, saying a CDM, I'm happy with a CDM. That's it enough. But it's not really not. It's really not. A lot of people are saying Robbo's terrible at Harmony. I agree with that sentiment, because Robbo, it's been terrible for 2 years, and I've been saying this, and I said it in my video the other day. Three big massive decisions, and one of them was Robbo. He might not work in this new formation, but he's been shit anyway. He's been shit anyway, hasn't he, Harmony? Do we need that? Do we need Jurgen Klopp to start stepping up now in terms of getting a hold of his team and saying, "Look, if you're not good enough, get the fuck off."
I feel like it's a combination of two things. I think it's a combination of we don't have a CDM, so the system and the tactics that Jurgen Klopp has given to these guys, it can't really be implemented because there's one key part that's missing in that midfield that can, give McAllister and Slobosai a bit more stability in that midfield and give them a bit more confidence that they can go up and they have someone behind them that can help them clear that ball or get that ball to them in further up in the opposition's box so they can do something with it, rather than both of them having to drop all the way back. So when they receive the ball, there's nothing, they can't even go up because they're basically surrounded. And also not having a centre back. So if we had a centre back, I feel like that would have resolved the situation. Robertson would have to be playing there because he's not comfortable in that position. You can clearly see that he's not comfortable in that position. He's not used to being drop inside into the centre back role where you'll have Luis Diaz coming there to help him out doing the defending side of it. He's not used to that. He got caught up so many times. We are lucky that they didn't bring on Modric. Was it Modric on for in the first half that he didn't start the game? Because I feel like if he started the game, he would have ripped us apart. I am so happy that he took that long to come on, because if he started that game and he warmed up into that game the way Chelsea had that momentum, I feel like he would have destroyed Robertson. It would have been a really, really bad day for him. So for me, I think we definitely need to get that centre back sorted. Robertson needs probably some time off to actually genuinely just have a look at him. Some say like, what am I doing wrong? How can I fix this? Because that performance right there it was just awful. There was one part where he got caught. He literally tried to jump for the ball, and the ball literally just went past him, and he was literally left so much space where Virgil had to cover it in for him. And I was just like, Robertson, what are you doing? This is not you. You don't just jump into tackles for no reason. You're more calculated than this. What is it that you're doing all of these things? And I just think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the players look so like tired for some reason. I don't know why. I was thinking, why do you look so tired? Yeah, like you just this season just started. How are you so tired already? Like, what's going on? So I feel like that's something that they can work on as well. But yeah, I think Robertson definitely needs. He needs. I don't think he should start. I feel like Tsimikas should get a chance if we don't get a centre back, or bring on as much as people will hate me for saying this, I feel like you might have to put Gomez in there, honestly, just so you can put Trent into that midfield, because Trent on that right back spot, you can clearly see this guy defensively, he's not there. Defensively, he's clearly not there. Yes, he made a couple of good tackles.
Is that on him though? Is that to CDM? The lack of CDMs as well,
I think is really up to him as well, because just because they said to him you can push up and you can bomb on forward to them, it doesn't mean that you can't defend. It doesn't mean you can't track back. It doesn't mean you can't make that effort to run back to cover your space. Because what happens if you're dragging Kanate into the right hand side, it leaves a massive hole in between him and Virgil. And if you have Robertson out of position, that means we only have two defenders. So if he had this defensive mindset, he would have dropped into into the center between Kanate and Virgil, and he would have been that third centre back. That's that's literally what Klopp was literally. That's his original plan, but clearly because he's not defensively minded, he can't do that. To him, it's like you can clearly see there was one part you can just see the guy literally just walking back, and you think, mate, we're under attack here. You're meant to be running back. What are you doing walking back? So that is why I'll bring on Joey, just so we can be more defensively stable, and if we can hopefully get a CDM by this week. We will probably be in a better position, but I feel like we do need two more players. 3 the most, but I think 2 would be good.
Colin, I was gonna come up to this, and Helios actually mentioned it anyway. He said it's pretty damning that of Klopp out of the Blackburn team, and Chelsea of all teams were considerably better set up than Liverpool today. I thought the exact same. Chelsea have bought several players, they've let several players go. They looked more of a team, didn't they, than Liverpool today?
Yeah, I thought a lot of their guys who are not necessarily like the marquee sort of signing names were all quite good, and they looked, as a team, they looked really fit. And sort of were buzzing around us, especially as the game wore on. They seemed to have a bit of a step that we didn't have in a lot of places. And I think to everybody else's point, like, I think a central defensive midfielder does make a pretty big deal. I think it makes a big difference to be able to have that person. So I'm just thinking about, like, as the starting lineup, if you were able to have that center defender or central defensive midfielder, that pushes Alexis up into that 8, that left side 8, and then that inversely pushes Gakpo into the center. And I think that's a much, much better team. I thought Alexis had a hard time getting close to Enzo today, but I think that is much more a function of where his position was rather than, an indictment to his skill or his ability. I just think that position, the entire midfield, I think, is just much more balanced and much better overall if we get that. And I think that does make a huge difference. But yeah, I did think Chelsea, I thought they were quite good. And maybe I underestimated them personally, thinking they might be more disjointed or more, more slow on the pickup with a new manager, with so much of a new team. But they looked quite sharp, quite good, I thought.
I do apologise, James, for my mic. I've been trying to. I've used my earphones. I've used a proper microphone, and I'm going back to my phone mic. But my mic might have been terrible, but Jota was worse, wasn't he, Harmony?
Yeah. He was. You can clearly see he was out. He was out of it. Every single step, probably 2 steps behind. Every single touch was not great. His positioning was not great. His pressing, his counter pressing was not great. Yeah, he just looked. He looked out of it. He looked tired. He was one of the players I was looking at, thinking, "Why do you look tired? Like, why do you look tired? Honestly, it's just the first game. How are you tired? Like, it just didn't make no sense to me. And I feel like Klopp tactically, he should have started just like Steven said. Gakpo should have been up there instead of what's his name?
Jota.
Yeah. Instead of him, because I think it would have been much more stable if we had Curtis Jones in there playing the 8. And then even if McAllister was playing the 6, it would have been so much more stable. I think because I feel like Gakpo would have offered so much more going up front, and he would have been able to drop into that midfield, helping that midfield either defensively or attacking. Because what happened was, because Jota was not in the game, he wasn't dropping in to receive the ball to link up the midfield and the front man. So what would happen was a massive space between those two camps. So if you can watch the whole game, you can clearly see that every time the midfield got the ball, they lost their game because there was no one to link up with. There was no one that was coming short to receive the ball. There was always you either have to go long, or we will lose the ball. Long, or we will lose the ball, or we will try to do something, or a pass will be off. So there was no one there that will kind of help and link up that midfield and the front man. So yeah, Joe was awful today. I think it just wasn't.
I think it was a perfect example of you need a team, because you can't just put 11 superstars out there and say go play. You need balance. You need a team formation, a way that works. You can't just put Jota up front, stick McAllister number 10 or number 8 into number 6, put back Gakpo in midfield and hope it works. It doesn't work like that.
No, but it's true.
Jota played well in the pre-season, but he still shouldn't be playing. For me, it should be Gakpo, Diaz, Salah. That's balanced. That's a balanced front three, and it allows the midfield then to be more balanced. And if you don't get the balance right, Colin, the balance then tips, and that's exactly what it did today. The balance tipped into Chelsea's favour. Where would you go now going forward in terms of that midfield? If we don't look like we're going to bring anyone in anytime soon. Caicedo and Lavia may join Chelsea themselves. So.
Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be a long 3 weeks, isn't it? It's going to
is.
be a long couple weeks.
It's been a long year, mate.
It has been. It's been a long year, and it's been a long summer. And it's going to be another long 3 weeks until this gets sorted, or it doesn't get sorted. I guess we're going to find out. To your point about Jota, I think that starting him misunderstands like what his real strengths are, and I think he's a terror off the bench. Like, I think when he comes in off the bench, I think he brings a sort of like energy and a sort of directness that he's totally able and very good at playing, that I think when defenders are tired is especially difficult to play against. And I don't think it's nearly as difficult to play against. I don't find him nearly as effective when he starts. For a lot of the reasons that we've cited, I thought the touch was heavy. I thought some of the tactical stuff was like not great. I just think that kind of misuses what he is best at, like misappropriates his best attributes. I mean, let's hope that Bajcetic and Thiago can get back and get fit soon, because I think we are showing that we are really desperate for Alexis to move up higher in the field. I think he's so classy when he's on the ball. He's just as, like I said in the group, he just oozes technicality and classiness, and I think he's just so. I just think he's so quality, and I thought a lot of the time that Enzo was afforded today was because Gakpo was almost playing as a second striker a lot, kind of sitting off there, and not as much defensive work. So Enzo's kind of sitting in that space between right behind where Gakpo was, but then in front of where McAllister was, and I think that is a difficult. That's really the space that Alexis is best at, kind of covering, and that's where his attributes shine.
Those little intricate passes, he needs those little intricate passes, because not 6. He needed a long distance passer.
Yeah, and in fairness, he sprayed that one to Salah on the goal today, which was like an inch perfect ball, and Salah takes an absolutely perfect touch, has that guy on the ropes, pushing the defensive line backwards, and really slots that ball right through. The midfield is a major point of concern still, especially in its ability to defend in the way that Jurgen really wants it to. I thought when Alexis was not best today was doing those sorts of like defensive duties, really like stepping in, squashing a counterattack, or getting a tackle into someone kind of pushing through the middle, but maybe pushing towards one of the sides. So I think it's a blaring huge hole that has to get filled by someone.
I mean, regarding this Akmal says Klopp temporary formation for the Chelsea game will not reflect the rest of the season. Let's calm down, Dave. And every time I come on, you always have a pop. The reason why I'm having a pop is because you put temporary formation in there. Why should we have a temporary formation for the first game of the season?
Do we think that is actually a temporary formation? I don't think so.
Well, it is in terms of the personnel, I think. Obviously,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
sure.
playing Gakpo in midfield and putting Jota up front and then putting McAllister in a CDM position.
Sure.
We should be like that in the
right.
first game of the season. This is why the whole the window's not shut there. The window's not shut yet. We're going to be playing 2-3 games before the window's shut. We're going to be dropping points before the window's shut. These points, that Chelsea team were there for the beating today. Let's be honest with ourselves. The first 20 minutes, we dominated that match. And if we scored that offside goal, I think we'd have gone on to win. Stephen, do you think there's a different Liverpool? Do you think there's a different mentality right now, Stephen? Because usually back in 2-3 years ago, when we got this goals like that, we just went again. We just seemed to drop off, didn't we, when that goal got disallowed?
Yeah, it was down to a multitude of factors. It's almost a broken record at this point, and it was the way teams kind of beat us last season and how we kind of got broken down before. In that, if you can survive the first 20 to 25 minutes of a Liverpool team, you have a good chance of stealing a point or two. Yeah. That's essentially it. And that's what Chelsea did. They dug their heels in. But I understand that we're all passionate about it as well. And as was mentioned, this was a temporary formation. I think it is a temporary formation purely with the personnel that it comes in. I don't think that this is going to be the way going forward. I think that obviously we're having a bit of an overreaction due to it being the first game of the season and us expecting to go in and clobber Chelsea, and with the Caicedo deal and the drama and the aggro that's happening there, I think everybody has a little bit of heightened emotions in relation to it. If this was any other game, I don't think we'd be reacting as much as this, if that makes sense. It's not to put excuses in. It's not to give them a pass on a poor performance. There was a multitude of players that were not up to standard today. Diaz was up to standard. He was attacking the ball. He was driving inside, cutting back inside. Núñez, when he came on for his 25 minute stint, did more than Jota did in the whole game. When Harvey Elliott came on, he brought some energy into the squad. He was up in Chelsea's corner at their corner flag, and then all of a sudden he was back in the center circle. He just ran like a Jack Russell Terrier to try and get the ball. McAllister, as good as he is, he was out of position in that. He'd done a fantastic job. I don't want to take anything away from him in that CDM role, but that's not his position. He needs to be about 10, 15 yards further up the pitch.
Yep.
But it's a trying thing to see when we know there's issues there, and we know what needs to be fixed in relation to it, but obviously we're not at the helm of it. We can't all of a sudden say, here, take 100 million quid for Caicedo, or here, take 100 million quid for Luis, or here, take 60, 70 million for Thuram. Like, unfortunately, we're not playing FIFA, I'm afraid, so we can't go and just spend money as we like. But it's a hard draw to take, purely because we could have won that game quite handily. I think Núñez should have been starting from the get-go. Fair enough, if you want to play Gakpo in midfield, that's fine. But instead of taking Gakpo out of the game, you then take Núñez out of the game after 60 minutes or 70 minutes if he hasn't done anything, put Curtis Jones in his place, and then move Gakpo up further. Gakpo playing behind Núñez is going to absolutely terrify defenses, because Gakpo is a great player with his back to the goal who can receive the ball at his feet and then distribute it left, right, and behind him. It worked very well. And as well, with McAllister being able to go up that high too, he works very well with Núñez. And Núñez and Salah, throughout all of preseason, had almost a telepathic link between the two of them and how their link-up play worked.
Yeah.
It's disheartening, for lack of a better term, to see a lack of effort. And I get that, Eddie, I get that they had money there, but it's not that they're not willing to spend it at that moment. They didn't value other players at those particular amounts. If you're referring to Lavia, they don't value Lavia at more than 45, 46 million. If somebody else values them at that, that's fine. But look at how Chelsea are in their situation in regards to financial side of things and spending left, right, and centre. The team that they put out was worth nearly $1 billion. So, like, it's, when you're looking at it that way, it's what yesterday's price is not today's price. And if a seller values something at a higher value than you, then you don't go and overspend for it. Is Caicedo a bit of a reactionary attempt of a signing? Maybe he was in the plan all along. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe it was just.
What were the reactions to, Stephen? What were they reacting to?
The which, sorry, David?
What were they reacting to?
What were they reacting to? Maybe a particular French winger that decided that he wants to stay in PSG for the year, so other players were not being made available. Now, you can call it reactionary, you can call it whatever you want, but we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And as we've seen over Twitter over the past number of days, not a lot of other people have a Scoobies either of what's going on. With every journalist had their thesaurus out.
Have they got a certain Italian journalist there, Stephen, I hear?
No, not at all. I would never name drop Fabrizio Romano like that. Not at all. They all had their thesaurus out. It was primed to pay, going to pay, linked to pay. Like they were getting their word count in. They're definitely playing Wordle that week. But yeah, it's it was disheartening, this performance, to be perfectly honest with you, but at the same time, we have to sort of take a step back and look at it from the point of view that we were going into this game very charged because of the Caicedo deal. I'm not going to overtly panic yet. We went to Stamford Bridge and we've done the same thing that we've done for the past 17 times, which is get a draw. If I think it's 17, but definitely and also Chelsea haven't won at Stamford Bridge since March. So if you want to call it consistency, that's consistency. If we keep up consistency for the rest of the season, I think we'll be okay. But we do need to get better, and there is holes to fill. And as Klopp mentioned, this was a temporary formation until we get the players that we want in. And I have a feeling that there's going to be players coming in this week, and whoever that may be it Caicedo, be it Lavia, be it the two of them, they'll be coming in this week.
Stephen mentioned about standards. One thing that will keep its standards is this channel, and this channel wants to get to the best standards it can get to for you guys. We want to produce the best content and the most content, and someone that you can go to when you are wanting your Liverpool news, your Liverpool fix, as it were. Standards do not apply to a Liverpool Football Club right now, Harmony, and the standards set from the top all the way down. Any business, let's talk John Henry terms here, Harmony. Let's talk business. Let's get the money out and let's talk business. And obviously, as Colin just said, like and subscribe. I've got to say that as well as me. So yeah, Harmony, let's talk standards. A business needs standards from the top, whether it be the ownership of Asda, the ownership of Aldi, the ownership of IKEA. If that ownership does not have those standards of a certain way to go forward, then the whole ship doesn't follow. If our ownership at Liverpool Football Club are standards low, is that why our standards are so low on the pitch and throughout? Even the fan base's standards have dropped, and even to the point where how many people in our chat was happy with having links with Dewsbury Hall. Does it start from the top?
Yes, unfortunately it does, because it's all chain linked. So it starts from the top all the way to the bottom. So if something's not working right in one of those stages, then there's going to be a failure somewhere. And unfortunately for us, it's coming from one of the most important part, the source of where the finance comes from. And for us, especially for the manager, he didn't want to be. We should have never, the owners should have never put him in this position at all. We should have never been in a position where we're bidding for Caicedo last minute and putting our fans through this embarrassing saga of transfers, of journalists literally selling their credibility just so people can literally click on their bios to read their articles. It's disgraceful. A big club like Liverpool, we should have never ever gone through that. If you wanted Caicedo, then you should have put in the work early, just like Chelsea did, or at least a month earlier than Chelsea did, because that way you show the player we're actually interested in you. We put value in you.
Yeah, but at the same time, Harmony, a counterpoint to that is Chelsea have been courting him since January and haven't given the value for it.
I do think the FFP is scaring them a little bit. I think the way around, I think the way they are waiting. I said it in the group chat. I think they're waiting for Liverpool to pull out, and I don't think Liverpool are pulling out.
Nope.
They're going on. No. They want a kid on the way.
Yeah. So I get what you're saying, Stephen. It's complete. You're completely right. Yeah. But the problem is, put it this way: if you're a girl in a club, and a guy comes up to you and he's buying you drinks and you're having a great time, and then some random guy just comes up to you while that guy's in the toilet doing what he needs to do, comes up to you, babe, do you want to come home with me? Are you saying yes?
Depends on how good looking he is.
Depends how pissed he is as well.
Wait. But ultimately, you're going to say no because you don't know who this guy is.
Yeah, no, I get it. Putting the effort in and everything like that. I 100% agree with you in relation to that. But at the same time, if you wanted to use your analogy against it, Chelsea are making Caicedo buy his own drinks by not bidding properly for him.
You know what? They're making him buy his own drinks, but they're offering him bigger wages.
So they're offering him the big house to come home to.
A bigger house.
But you have to buy your own drinks.
You buy your own drinks, but But that's now. But now is the fact that now because they're scared. Why do you think? Honestly, if you're Casado, you are not choosing Chelsea over Liverpool, especially in the shambles they're in right now. Honestly, you would not. Our project is better. Our manager is better. Our club, our team is better. The only reason why this guy is going to choose Chelsea because he's getting more money. Imagine getting $250 a week for 8 years, 8 to 9 years, because that's how long the contract is. You are not taking that. You're taking that all day over a 120. You're taking that all day, and your agent is getting a bigger fee. So obviously he's going to be in your ear, be like, nah, let's not do this. Let's not take this deal. This deal is rubbish. Let's go for these guys. They're going to come in. They're going to sort it out.
You see, the problem the thing with that though is, and I said this in our group as well, is that it's all well and good seeing that the grass is greener on the other side in relation to wages and everything. But if FFP come and absolutely rail Chelsea, like I think they're going to do, if Chelsea go through with this and get the players that they want, realistically at the moment, Chelsea are financially in a big hole. They're going to make losses on an awful lot of players. And these 8-year deals are going to bite them because let's say Chelsea get slapped with profit and sustainability bans and points deductions and everything like that. You go to a big club. Now, I'm not saying that Brighton isn't a big club because clearly they got European football last year. But if you go to a big club, so let's say you're moving from the likes of a Southampton, I would say, we'll use Lavia as an example. You perform well at Southampton and you then move to a bigger club because you want to go and play European football and compete on the biggest stage. If all of a sudden you're Chelsea, you go and move to Chelsea and they start getting points deductions for the next couple of years purely because of breaches of FFP, all of a sudden they're out of the European spots. And that's not to include any bans or transfer bans that may come in from the likes of UEFA or even the Premier League as well. So wages are all well and good, but if you don't get to go and compete on a competitive level as a professional, you would then want to go elsewhere to be able to do that. So while it's all well and good promising the sun, the moon, and the stars to these players, if the team ends up getting slapped with all these financial fair play and profit and sustainability sanctions that denies them European football, they're going to go somewhere where they can get European football. It's really that simple. So it's pay the money, fair play to him. He gets a big wage, but he's never going to play European football with Chelsea if they get slapped the way I think they're going to get slapped. Whereas if he comes to Liverpool, who operate within all of these rules as it's so shown so far, he'll have the opportunity to get into European football and play on the world's biggest stage at that point. Like, so if you're looking at the wages, that's one thing, but you need to also look at the fact that he could get so many more opportunities, take a pay cut to get more outside of the wage, if that makes sense. It's all well and good taking 250 grand a week, but if you're never playing in Europe, you're not going to progress and grow your brand as well as a player. And if an agent wants to get fees, he's going to get them out of endorsements. Like, he's an Ecuadorian player. There's not that many of them on the biggest stage in Europe. If the agent is on about money, going and playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world, Liverpool, on the European stage, where we are so famously known for playing well on, money will roll in and he will be able to walk all the way back to Ecuador over the Atlantic Ocean on a pile of money. It'll be that big. So if money's that thing, it seems like they're only looking at the short-term picture and not the long-term picture in regards to players going to Chelsea. But like, as Klopp once said to Coutinho before he went to Barcelona back in the day, if you stay, they will build a statue for you outside here. If you leave, you'll just be another player. He goes to Chelsea, he'll just be another player. As good as he is, he won't be able to reach the heights that he could have reached.
Thank fuck he didn't listen to Klopp, because we wouldn't have got Alisson and Van Dijk.
honestly.
Klopp, shut the fuck up next time.
So can I just add one thing to what Stephen just said? I agree with you completely. I agree with everything you just said. I agree with you. But the only problem is I have no faith in FFP. Let me be real with you, mate. I have no faith in them. You know, the only reason why I don't have no faith in them is because if they were truly going hard, then Man City would not be still going on with what they're doing right now.
We see Man City's one is so massive and has been an investigation that's been going on for years. They weren't complying with it, whereas Chelsea's was self-reported. So when Chelsea got taken over, their new owners in Todd Bowley found these books from Abramovich and self-reported themselves. So they're getting investigated from 2012 to 2019. But under Bowley and his spending and all the contracts and everything is also now suspect to investigation from 2020 onwards, purely because of his play acting with contracts and the spending now and how they've made billions in losses over the past couple of years, and it can, if it takes years, that's fine. But like the Man City one was, one of the accusations was not complying with an investigation, whereas Chelsea was self-reported. So Chelsea are already under the microscope in relation to this, and they're playing with fire as it is now. I can guarantee you there's legal and financial counsel that are there telling them, please back out of this Caicedo deal purely because you're going to absolutely cripple us financially going forward. But to your point of not having faith in FFP, I agree with you. I do. I don't have faith in FFP either, or the profit and sustainability. But the issue is that the Premier League and UEFA now have an opportunity to put their foot down in relation to this and make examples of the big clubs like City and like Chelsea. If they don't do it, well, you may as well just bin the financial fair play and the profit and sustainability off, and we may as well just go ham and absolutely spend money left, right, and centre where we want to, because we're going to get a fine as a ramification at most. So if
just like Saudis,
it's essentially you either enforce the rules or the rules don't matter and they're there purely on paper for the sake of it because you look like you're doing something. So either you enforce the rules now or you don't. It's as simple as that.
Eddie says Caicedo was going to get unveiled today. Do we miss it? I think John Henry's took him away. You know,
John snuck him away in the bed.
I think.
The question is, why is he there? Why is he here today? That's what I want to know.
Because we're getting Caicedo. That's why he now.
I'm sorry.
He's bagged him. He's bagged him, Harmony. He's bagged him. He's put him in it. He's put him on his yacht. He's now under surveillance.
I'll put it to you this way, Harmony. There was reports that came out that John Henry was flying over under the assumption that we were going to sign Caicedo. The bid was put in and Chelsea's stalling was noted all over social media as of very early Friday morning. It doesn't take nearly 60 hours for a plane to fly from Boston to Liverpool. Exactly. He knew, and if he wasn't, he was very misinformed. But he knew that this transfer drama was going on. If he didn't, he's a fool, which I wouldn't put it past him. But he knew the transfer drama was going on. So realistically, he wouldn't have come over if something big wasn't going to happen. When's the last time he was here? For an opening day like that at a different stadium too? Yeah, Caicedo's in London as well. There's only so many things that can be a coincidence before they actually become a pattern and they start leading to the simplest solution of it. So I realistically, like, all of a sudden, this is my dream. I can guarantee you that I'd laugh if we end up turning around and double signing Lavia and Caicedo and leaving Chelsea in the mud for the rest of the season because they're suffering from injuries now. Yeah.
Whilst you may have missed your unveiling of Caicedo today, do not miss this show every single night. We are live every single night at 7:30. And as Jenny's doing right here, she's still trying to build up that Caicedo pot as much as she can. We know, Jen, you don't need to keep bidding now. We've put in the bid now. I know if else do put in a bigger bid, we're doing a little bit more. So everything is appreciated by you, Jen, and everything is appreciated by anyone that joins in the chat, joins in with their comments, and appreciated all the time. Colin, let's go back to the game. Salah.
Yep.
How did you feel the way you reacted going off? Obviously, it's passion. You know, you're going to get in front of. You're the best player for the team. I remember Torres getting brought off by Rafa Benitez against Blackburn. We 1-1 against Blackburn, and he got brought in. I was like, what the heck are you bringing him off for? You know, we need a goal. But Salah had no leg to stand on today, did he? See, apart from the first 20 minutes, he was shocking like everyone else.
Yeah. In some sense, I'm not very surprised. Like, he is probably the most competitive person on the team. From everything that we've seen, from like behind the scenes stuff, from like their like ping pong tournament that they do at the training camp, like he's massively competitive about everything he does. And he really truly believes that he absolutely can make the difference between winning and tying or winning and losing. So in a sense, like, I understand, and I think that Jurgen will probably almost certainly play it down like that. He'll certainly say, you know, he and I talked, like, I understood. That's why I didn't make a bigger scene of it. Jurgen will take the high road. I didn't go over because I saw he was already mad.
Jurgen has already made comments on it. It was released on Twitter. Yeah,
I didn't get to see what he said.
What he said was that somebody commented on the fact that he's always scored on opening day, and Jurgen jokingly replied and said, he's got 500 records. How am I supposed to keep track of them?
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty funny. That's
typical Jurgen.
I mean, and he'll He will certainly take the hot because I'm sure he'll be asked about it in the midweek press conference or whatever, and he'll say, I saw, I did what I did, I had to make that change, which honestly I think the change is like totally fine.
Yeah.
Especially with the way Ben Doak's been in preseason, he's been a lightning bolt. So give him a run, whatever. And it's also the first game. It's like
This was a Champions League final. I'd understand it, but it's first game of the season. Like let's relax ourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
He can throw a hissy fit all he wants. To be perfectly honest with you, he didn't perform all that great in the second half, and we needed a change of scenery and we needed some fresh legs. And James Doak did have touches. He took on down that right hand side a couple of times, and he facilitated balls into the middle as well towards the end of the game. Helped Nunes get a couple of touches as well. So
we didn't have a ton of offensive touches in the second half of the game anyway.
Go on, Colin.
I was just gonna say, like, Doak did have touches. It wasn't a ton, but like we didn't have a ton as a whole. Like Chelsea pretty well kept us. Like, there was not a ton of like offensive third possession that we had. Going, especially as the game wore on.
I just want to add on to that. I just want to say that I feel like it's a great example. I feel like that was a statement when Klopp took him off. Honestly, because I feel like there's too many players on our team that feel way too comfortable feeling that even if they're playing rubbish, they're going to stay on that pitch. So him taking off Salah was a great, and I loved it, because even though you saw Salah angry, now he knows I got to perform next time. He's going to take me off. I got to be in my game or he's going to take me off. That was a statement, and that's what I like. I like that. And I like the fact that even though his reaction was bad, I feel like you're going to see a whole different Mo Salah in the next game. He's going to be on it, on fire. So I like that.
And this is why refreshment is needed.
Yeah.
In terms of transfers, because
Absolutely.
this competition needs to be up. And I've said it before. I said I want not just Lavia or Caicedo. I want Thuram in there as well. People say, well, is Thuram going to be back on the bench? It's going to be fucking competition. Thuram will fucking keep these players on their toes. If you're not performing, you're off. And Thuram will replace you. We're not going to lose out. Ben Doak deserves to play. Ben Doak's a 17-year-old kid, Salah, and I get this. I get the being pissed off and stuff. I still think he should have maybe give Ben Doak maybe a high five going on, because he's a 17-year-old lad. He didn't want to see that. It's quite a bit of pressure coming on. I don't think we got.
I think he did. When he came off, he gave him a high five before he went after the.
Fair enough to him, and then that's what you need. But we need that passion, don't we? But we also need this competition, Stephen. You were going to say something then? Were you saying the same thing?
Something similar to that, yeah. There was a couple of players that felt invulnerable last season in relation to performances. I felt Trent was one of them. He wasn't putting in an awful lot of effort last season at all, and one could argue today he should have been taken off too. It's the way I look at it is that either you perform or you don't. And to be honest with you, I'm actually happy with the result today. And that might come as a bit of a contradiction to what I said earlier, that it was disappointing. But I'm happy with the result today in the fact that is the kick up the ass that the team kind of needed. The thing about it is you can, if a team is performing well and we're overachieving, faults and cracks get plastered over because we don't notice them because we're winning. But when we have to struggle to get points against that Chelsea team, who are very well drilled defensively, it shows that we're not just going to walk over teams, unfortunately, and that we do need more support in relation to it. And it's I'm glad this happened now, and it didn't happen 2 months into the season, where we had a very poor run of form or something like that and lost a couple of games or dropped points left, right, and center. I'm happy that it happened on the first game of the season. Again, there's possibly 26 more games between now and Christmas. Yeah. So I don't think we should lose the plot over this one game, but at the same time, it's the wake-up call that was needed. It's like, okay, season's here now, time to switch on. Come on, let's pull the finger out. And Salah can be as annoyed as he wants. If you're not performing, you don't deserve to be on that pitch. He had a great first half. He had a great first half an hour, and then he just kind of disappeared. He had a good couple of runs, but he didn't really make all that much of an impact. There was some chances that he should have taken. There was some chances that we should have taken. I don't know why Szoboszlai was sat there with 5 yards of space all around him, looked up at the goal, and then thought, I'm going to pass to Nunes, who had 3 players draped over him. And that was a silly decision for me in there. It's the simple fact of fitness, first game of the season. Ben Doak has been providing great spark off the bench or when he started in relation to the preseason, and we needed fresh legs and a difference and change up, and it showed straight away because Núñez looked dangerous and Ben Doak looked dangerous on the right hand side there coming in the way. He challenged a couple of right backs or left backs, should I say, and started bringing the ball inside. So realistically, I'm not sad about the change, and as Harmony said, might light a fire under his ass and he'd be like, okay, well, clearly I'm not invincible. I need to start performing if I want to keep my place in the team. So it's really, while we dropped 2 points, I consider this a win-win. It's the first game of the season. There's 26 more between now and Christmas. We go again.
Regarding this comment here, Klopp's subs were trash. Can't believe you're making excuses. The thing is, though, the key, right? Thank you for the comment, and I like to bounce off comments like this anyway, because what has he got as subs? I mean, we ain't got a CDM, so our depth is not really that good, apart from the attack. Our attack depth's unbelievable. We've got 5-6 attackers there. That's unbelievable.
I think those subs were fine. They brought energy. We looked more dangerous than in the last 15.
Yeah. And they needed to be brought on because the 11 on the pitch were doing fuck all.
Like Doak coming on, Núñez only for a deflection would have had a goal top ins, and we would have absolutely lost our minds.
So would Verge. Did you see Verge's shot?
Verge could have had one too. So saying that the subs were trash is one thing. They weren't. They came on and they done what they were supposed to. They injected energy into the team and they provided what they were supposed to. Núñez all of a sudden lost his ponytail. It looked like an angry bugger. Like he just looked like he wanted to absolutely abuse that ball. And only for the skin of the Chelsea defender's boot that was going in top ends, and there was nothing that was going to stop it. Núñez is going to be dangerous, and he needs to. I said it earlier on in the summer as well. Núñez needed to start against a team like Chelsea, where they're going to press a high line like that, play a back three, because you need to be able to play the ball in over the top of one. He helps you pin their defense back because they're so afraid of his pace. The same as Harmony mentioned earlier in the stream of Mudryk coming on and being afraid of the pace. Núñez is lightning quick. Salah's lightning quick as well, but he's out on the right hand side. It's hard for him to push a defense back when you have wing backs like Chelsea do. Whereas if you had Núñez sitting there in the middle, that Chelsea back three, or at least one or two of them, is going to have to sit there, because if he beats one, you'll have backup there. And Núñez would have provided that. Gakpo would have been fine in midfield then, and you could have allowed Gakpo to feed Núñez that way and sit in like a false nine or maybe an attacking midfield role. But realistically, Jota was the wrong decision there. He's not quick, he's not strong, he's not fast. He does have great attacking positioning, but when you're playing in that particular role that's there against a high-pressing team like Chelsea that Pochettino would implement, you need somebody that can pin them back with pace.
How many, apart from the Liverpool players and apart from poor performances for the Liverpool players, as a couple of people said here, there's poor performances from the guy in the middle and the guy in the VAR move as well, because some ridiculous decisions today. I mean, I felt like every time I'm sort of looking for Vernon says, "What's your take on the VAR decision and ball pass for the penalty?"
It was penalty.
Regarding, I want to go back to the penalty, but regarding Anthony Taylor and the way he officiated the game, I just don't think he let the game flow. Every time Chelsea player went down, he blew. There was that one incident, I can't remember who it was, I think Soboslai possibly maybe had the foul that got given against him, and the Klopp reaction where he was on the floor on his knees. I couldn't believe he gave that as a foul.
Wait, that wasn't even that bad. The one against Konate, when Chilwell fouled him, he gave them a foul. That was honestly, you know what? Tell somebody else to speak, because if I speak about refereeing, I promise you want to shut off the stream. So please ask somebody else, because that referee is a joke. He's an actual joke. And everything that Klopp said about him last season is true, because you can clearly see it on that pitch exactly what was going on. Anybody that says otherwise, they're just blind, or they're even getting paid to not say anything. So that's all I have to say.
Standards again, though, Hamlet. It's the standards again. It's standards from the top. I said it. Standards from the top. Whatever business it is, standards from the top in the PGMOL is as bad as it gets, and they're getting away with these sort of decisions every single year. Colin, I'm going to come to you about the VAR decision. For me, it was handball just because of the sheer distance it took to get to where he was. I understand that it wasn't his arm went out there. Yeah. But the distance from the corner flag to where the ball ended up, he had plenty of time to move his arm then, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did. And the biggest reason that I think it was a handball is because I think that ball's going in the net. I think that's the goal.
It's definitely setting up someone for a tap in.
Yeah, and his hand, regardless of the fact that it's like you said, it's not sticking out here. It was like in, but it hits his hand, and it's going towards a play. It's either going in or someone's tapping it in, and his hand stops it from doing that. So like I just don't understand how the handball rule. It's so arbitrarily applied. I just don't. I don't understand how that cannot be, as it's like clearly stopping the ball from going into, like I said, either into the goal or into a goal scoring opportunity. I don't get it.
If the arm's out there and it's not in sight of him and it's not an unnatural position,
right?
But that's from a close range or at some power. You know, when people shoot from power. I think there was an handball given yesterday for something like that. Where
in the 9-minute game.
I can't think what it was. He slid for it and his arm was up there when he was sliding for it.
Yeah.
And it didn't meet. You know, that was an actual position, but because it blasted at him, he got to give a penalty for something. If that was a blast at him from a short distance, then I understand not being given a penalty. The sheer difference between that, and it wasn't even a fast corner. It didn't come out at pace. To me, like you're right, if that is stopping a goal scoring opportunity,
this
going in.
This would be the perfect opportunity for the refereeing association to, if they had those kind of full recordings that we've seen other leagues do, where you can hear their discussion between the VAR and between the on-field referee about why it is and like how they talk through it, and that this would be a perfect opportunity for them to display that sort of transparency that is possible that other lesser leagues do. But the greatest league in the world, we don't do that. Why don't we do that? We don't get an answer for why we don't do that.
Because it'd show the refs for bad decisions and question their authority.
It's like how can that possibly be the best league in the world, refereed by the worst refereeing organization, certainly in Europe's top 10.
Yeah, I'm not one to like. We can blame refs all we want. To be perfectly honest with you, while Anthony Taylor wasn't the greatest of refereeing performances today,
no, it's not the reason.
It's not the reason. It's not the reason we drop points.
Two separate
two things can be true at once.
Yes.
Two things can be true at once. Anthony Taylor didn't do us any favors in that game. I think there was particular fouls that were there that should not have been called. The Szoboszlai one, where I can't remember which player it was. The Chelsea player had his back to Dominic Szoboszlai. There was a jostle for the ball. He then fell to the ground. Szoboszlai didn't move for like 2 seconds. The player didn't get up off the ground. Then Szoboszlai went and took the ball off the player on the ground, and then a foul was called, which boggled my mind as to how do you make that decision. With regards to the handball decision for the penalty, I can see why it wasn't called. It's close to his shoulder, chest. His arm was like here. I get it. It's not, but at the same time, it's another week and that would have been given. That's the problem. And consistency seems to be an issue with the likes of VAR decisions and stuff like that. Like if 10 times out of 10 or even 9 times out of 10 that was not given as a penalty, we could accept that. We'd be like, okay, but we've seen in the past that's not given. Right. But we've seen in the past that it has been given. So there's no consistency to it. If there was a consistent we don't care about the decisions, so to speak. We care that they're uniform and across the board. If we all got called for the same decisions, then we have nothing to complain about. But some decisions go your way and some decisions don't in relation to the particular referee. And to be honest with you, it would not surprise me that between now and Wednesday, if the Referees Association came out and said, yeah, we missed one there, it wouldn't shock me, to be perfectly honest with you.
But it will happen next week and they won't say nothing about it. That's what's annoying. These pundits, these things will happen next week, a game after, and they won't say nothing.
Same idea. It's a brand new Premier League, brand new season, and it's the same again. I mean, I can't stand Everton, but their goal shouldn't have been disallowed yesterday. I watched that this morning.
Shouldn't have been.
The goalkeeper literally jumped on him, and he got a foul for it.
So I know the goal you're on about now. I think it was correct that the goal got disallowed. If you watch it back again, and VAR would have been able to watch this, there was a second movement by the Everton attacker where he threw his shoulders back into the keeper. So the keeper has full right to go and get that ball in midair. It's a 50-50 ball. Everybody has a right to that ball. But then when he came down, the keeper dropped it. That's a live ball now. Everybody has access to it again. The problem is while the keeper came down, the Everton player was stood in front of him. His arms were naturally around him anyway. The Everton player then decided to shrug his shoulders back and push the keeper back away from him. That's essentially an obstruction, hence why it was called foul. So VAR reviewing that, I can agree with that. It's harsh, but...
Yeah. Can someone please tell me what he said here? Because Willem just put this up. I need to know what he said. Because if we're having Sturridge on Sky... Sturridge needs to be on Sky every week if this is going on.
Yeah,
100%. You guys had, who was on the call today? Was it Peter Drury?
Yes.
Peter
Drury, Jamie Carragher, and Gary Neville.
That's why you were on about Jamie Carragher. So we had who was it? I can't remember the main
Carragher's
commentator.
the third one. They'll go to Carragher when they get a bit bored.
Yeah.
Commentary and they need someone else to talk. But he talked shy. I mean, Carragher actually talked well today in terms of what he was saying. He was basically saying like 2 players isn't enough when 7 have left. And
but it's just like, why now? Right.
Why now? This is what I'm saying to you, mate. This is what I'm saying to you. He's on the overlap every.
Yeah.
Only recently on the overlap. I watch overlap every time. Only now, recently. And this includes Paul Making, by the way. This includes Paul Making. I've got no qualms with Paul Making, but he's not even called them out either. And when Gary Neville was calling him out, Paul Making didn't even like it. I don't know why he don't like it. Is he friends with John Henry or something? Because it's something weird going on there. For me, it's only now they're starting to call it out. And Gary Neville's the one that's had to fucking say it first. Yeah. Gary Neville. The guy warned Carragher, said, look, I don't think Jurgen Klopp will build a dynasty under this ownership. I'm not scared of it. That's what he said. I'm not scared of Liverpool under this ownership. And it's been years and years, and Carragher have not said fuck all. And last year, I go back to last year as well during his commentary, and I remember watching a game. I can't remember against Brentford. I think it might have been Brentford away where we got battered. I think that midfield, we had RBL at the midfield, and RBL made a mistake. I think he passed it off and back or something like that, and he gave it a ball. He's like, why is there so many gaps in the midfield? Because we don't have a fucking midfield, Carragher. We don't have a midfield. Yeah. So he's saying that he's saying, why is there so many gaps in midfield? Because you don't have a midfield.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm doing this right in front of me, right? There's nothing there, so there's nothing stopping me doing it. If there's nothing there, then there's nothing going to stop you doing it. If you haven't got a CDM, then that's not good. I need to know this, Jen. I need to know what Sturridge has said, because Sturridge, he goes up. He's already he goes up in legendary status right now. He's already up there in terms of one of my favourite players to play at Liverpool, but legendary status right now. If he's calling out the owners live on Sky Sports, I need to know what he said. Going forward now, then, Stephen. 3 weeks left of the transfer window. We still haven't got a CDM. Mr. Henry himself flew over to see his beloved Liverpool live in I think he's actually visited more away grounds than he has visited Anfield in the last 3 years. Am I correct?
I would believe so. It's definitely the first time I remember him coming to an opening day, but realistically, he's come to an opening day purely for this. And I was just about to mention this as well, that this was mentioned on Twitter, that we're refusing to pull out of the Caicedo deal, which leads me more to believe the fact that he's here because we're getting Caicedo, because we're the only ones that have an agreed deal with Brighton. But back to your point, Damo, he's very much an absentee owner, and I don't particularly like that in relation to how you and this is what Sturridge said here. I see it here. In the end, there's a couple of positions that need strengthening, and the owners need to support them. So while it's not the biggest call out, it's something in the media. They're not.
Yeah.
And that's all you can really hope for. But he's an absentee owner, and realistically, they've shown their hand with the Caicedo deal. They've shown that they have at minimum £111 million to spend, and if the Caicedo deal falls through, and that's a big if, I think, in my own opinion, if the Caicedo deal falls through, it shows that if they don't spend that by the end of the window, I feel like that will be the final nail in the coffin for them, because they've shown their hand now. it was fair enough when we all could have made assumptions with Lavia. It's like, oh, we don't want to spend that much. Maybe we're trying to facilitate with profit and sustainability, what have you. But now that they've turned around and said, oh no, here's more than double the amount that we were looking to make a pay for. It's purely just it's frustrating. But again, as I mentioned, first game of the season, there's holes to be fixed. There's things to be fixed, and we go again. These games are going to come thick and fast, and we got to be able to adapt quickly to it.
Yeah.
Next week, Colin, Bournemouth is next.
Yep.
They looked at sorts yesterday at the points. They got saved by Solanke in the end.
They did.
And a Philip Billing goal line clearance.
Mm-hmm.
Should we be putting 9 past them again, regardless of what team we put out?
I don't really care what the like how many it is that we put past them. It needs to be how it's played. It needs to be the kind of performance that is controlled and professional and does not look scared that they're going to score, or vulnerable in that way. It should be 2-3-4-0. That's what it should be. And that's certainly what I'll hope for. But it needs to be, if it's 1-0 and they just don't look like they, sniff anything, but they just drop everybody back, sit 9 behind the ball, then and we just control them all game. That's fine. But it has to be a win, and it needs to be commanding. It needs to be that, with that sort of attitude.
If you are new here, please give a like and subscribe on this channel, because the more you do that, the more our algorithms go up, the more and better content we can make you as well. We just want to make you the best content we can, the best Liverpool channel around. I know there's other good Liverpool channels, but we want to be the best, and we want to make sure you get the best content. I care about what the viewers want and what the viewers want to watch. I know you want regular streams. I know you want different kind of content as well as watch-alongs, as well as live reactions and transfer news. We're much more than that. Going into the last bit then, Harmony. If I'm going to put yourself in Klopp's shoes.
Yeah.
You've got those five, six forwards. You've got no CDM. McAllister is not a CDM, and he's wasted back there today. You've seen that today. He wasted back there. He can't get the best out of him. His little intricate passing, he can't really do back there. He needs someone that can progress the ball upfield from there, dribbling it out, as well as long range passing every now and then. What does Klopp do next week against Bournemouth then? Does he stick with the same lot, or does he try something different?
I feel like he tries something different. I feel like McAllister and Szoboszlai's talent and the gift that they have to pick out a pass and to break the lines, not just with their runs, but with their great intricate passing movement, is being wasted having to cover holes in the midfield that would have been covered if we had a DM in there. Just to read out some of the stats for Szoboszlai, he was really good today. Big chances created 3. 28 passes out of 30 complete, 35 completed. Key passes 3, 8 recoveries, and 100% tackling. So he got the work rate. He has the work rate. You can see that he was running around the whole pitch, tackling, closing guys down. And
he done that quietly too. I actually didn't see him most of the game. He done that very quietly, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and what makes me more encouraging is the fact that if he can do that with that performance that we had, that was horrible. Imagine now we have a DM in there that can just let him off the leash. He will actually create so much for the midfield, and I feel like it will give him more confidence to be able to take those shots. You know what I mean? So, but I feel like he'll go. Klopp will go a different route. He'll either start Nunes or Gakpo up front, and you'll see Jones come in and cover that 8 spot, and McAllister, depending if we get Caicedo or not, or Lavia. It depends on what happens and what the owners does. Like I said, I don't know why he's here. Regardless if we're gonna get him or not, it's a bit like, bro, like you're only showing your face now because you know you're under fire. So like it doesn't.
Is who the fuck offered 111 million?
Yeah, like it doesn't make no sense. But for me, yeah, I feel like he'll change it tactically. I think he might bring in Gomez just to cover that left hand side for Andy Robertson, because I don't feel like Robertson should start the next game, regardless if who we're playing. And because I feel like that game against Bournemouth should be a benchmark of what's going to happen against Newcastle, because Newcastle, your pick for this start of the season, Tonali was looking really, really good for them. And they weren't playing a rubbish team. They were playing an Aston Villa team that is really well. They have some great players, and he was the outstanding performance out there. So that Newcastle game is going to be big for us.
Yep.
And I feel like that's on a game that we're either going to win or lose if we don't perform in this Bournemouth game or show our intent within the next couple of days. So yeah.
It may be only Bournemouth, but no game is easy in this league. I know in the last season, but we lost to them last season away. We went there, beat. I think it was Man United. It was the 7-0 against Man United, weren't we? And they lost to Bournemouth the week after.
Yeah.
So these games come thick and fast and quick. And the more you drop points in games like this, the more you're not going to win the title. We should be going for the title. I know Klopp said bare minimum's top 4, but Liverpool should be going for the title this season. We were going to the title season before last season. This should be our standard. I said about standards, and our standards need to be set from the top. It's up to John Henry now to put up or shut up, if I'm honest. I think he's already passed. I know a lot of people are giving him that last chance. But his last chance for me for last year, because he's been doing it so long. But it is Stephen's absolutely spot on what he said earlier. This is it now for you. If you don't give that 111 million now to Klopp to go get, at least 2 midfielders, one's not enough. A centre back, even like Carragher was saying, like we need a centre back that can play across the pitch. That's what he said. They said we need a defender that can play across the pitch. I mean, Robertson he's a shadow of himself, but he's been like that for 2 years though.
Yeah,
he's been like that for a while now. He's not been like that all of a sudden like Fabinho was, and that's the thing. Before we do leave, make sure you do leave a like and subscribe. Keep an eye on get your notification bells on as well, because we are live every single night at 7:30, live every time after a game, live watch-alongs going along, podcasts going along, a 10-minute video every now and then as well. We'll give you the best and most content at Liverpool LFC Transfer Room. Disappointing draw at parts, but acceptable draw at parts as well, because going into the game, we all wanted to win. We all thought we'd win. But as the game progressed, I think we all probably accepted the draw being the best case scenario. So we didn't look like going to get a winner at some point. And Chelsea, we were lucky to hang on earlier. Stephen said Alisson man of match, and exactly why. But we shouldn't have to rely on Alisson man of match. We shouldn't have to rely on temporary formation. It's the first game of the season. The players look knackered. Why did they look knackered? Time to step up now, John, because this is your time to show us that if you do really want to be an owner of Liverpool Football Club, you need to put up or shut up. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Thank you for Colin, Stephen, and Harmony, myself, Damon. A draw's a draw. We move on to Bournemouth. Thank you, everyone, much for joining, and up the Reds.